Hello and welcome back again. I hope you've had a fantastic week in the sunshine. We're doing pretty good and I hope you are too. So this week we're going to carry on with our study, our kind of looking at all these guys in a book of the Bible called Hebrews in chapter 11. Can you remember these faithful guys who trusted in God and did all sorts of crazy stuff? Can you think who we've covered so far? We've already looked at 4 different people. We've done Abel, Enoch, Noah, and last week was Abraham. And all these guys were super faithful. And today we have another faithful person from the Bible to look at. But before we do that, let's enjoy our song together.
Chase your dreams. Come, my Lord, awaken holy fire. We are turning from our sin. We are praying once again. Come, my Lord, awaken holy fire. We are aching for the real thing. Hearts are open. Start in us, set your holy spark in us, send us out in resurrection power. History is about to change. We are rising once again. Send us out in resurrection power. We are aching for the real thing. Hearts are open wide. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. For your glory, for your fame. In this darkness, light a flame in us. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. Burn like a star, light a fire in our hearts. For your glory, for your fame. In this darkness, light a flame in us.
I hope you enjoyed the song, and some of you have said that you'll do some actions and dance moves for me. So if you do that, make sure you record them on a camera or phone and then share them in the Facebook group, because then we can all have a look at them in the chat later, because that'd be pretty cool. Now, we were looking at Abraham last week, And he was super faithful. He was faithful when God asked him to leave home. He was faithful when God promised him a land that he was going to live in. And he was faithful when God promised him a child as well. Can you remember our memory verse? Because we're going to keep the same one this week to help you learn it really well and remember it in the future. It's trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3 verse 5. That's trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Because we're going to check out somebody else now. Someone who was very well known to Abraham and a lady this week. Let's see the story.
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Sarah. This is Sarah. Sarah was Abraham's wife. One day, as Abraham sat near the entrance of his tent, God appeared to him. Abraham looked up and 3 men stood before him. God promised Abraham that he and Sarah would someday have a son. In fact, God promised Abraham that he would have many children. Even more than the stars in the sky. Now, Sarah was very old when God made this promise. When she heard that God promised to give her a child, she laughed. The messenger of God stopped Sarah. He asked, "Is anything too hard for the Lord?" Sarah chose to trust God, and she became pregnant and she gave birth to a son. The son's name was Isaac. God's promises came true for Abraham and Sarah. Abraham became the father of many nations, and from his child came children, and from their children, more children, until Abraham's descendants were truly more numerous than the stars in the sky. Abraham and Sarah trusted God for the promise and believed that God was faithful.
I hope you enjoyed the story of Sarah. I know I did. And so she was made a big promise by God to have a son. And God kept that promise, which was pretty awesome because she was crazy old when she had Isaac. But have you ever kept a promise? Or have you ever broken a promise? Do you know, I'm going to be honest with you. I have, even this week, made a promise to Moses, my son, and I said that I would make some trading cards, Yu-Gi-Oh cards with him. And do you know what? I got too busy and I kind of forgot and I broke that promise. And do you know, I'm also supposed to phone my mum on a Monday evening. And sometimes it gets to Tuesday and I've just got crazy busy and I've broken my promise again. And yeah, I'm not the best daughter in the world. And sometimes, how about you? Do you say that you're going to do something to your parents and promise you're going to do it and then break it? Eek. I think all of us breaks promises sometimes because we're human and sometimes we mess up and sometimes it's also not even our fault. Sometimes something happens and we just can't keep our promise. But do you know what? We have a God whose promises are big and strong and unbreakable, and there is no God's promises, okay? They're tried and they're tested and they're true. And that's what Sarah found. She found that God's promise was true, even though it was crazy for her to have a son when she was so old. But she had a baby called Isaac, and he grew up and he had kids and they had kids. And the promise to Abraham also came true. Remember that it said that he was going to have as many children as there were stars in the sky, and God kept that promise. And we can trust in his promises too. And that is pretty awesome. Now, if you can remember our memory verse of trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, I have another slightly crazy activity for you that I'm going to put in the pack for you to try at home. And I really hope it works today, because otherwise it might get a bit messy. So like Sarah had to trust God for a son, you're going to have to trust me not to make a mess. Let's see how this goes. Okay. So let the crazy commence. I have with me here a box, as you can see that, a box of eggs. And here is Jonas. You can see Jonas, do you want to wave? Thanks, Joe. Jonas has been in the garden today and has dirty feet. I just want to make that clear before I get reported for bad parenting. And Jonas, do you trust me, Joe? Okay, so Joe mostly trusts me, and Jonas is going to trust me that he can put his whole weight on this box of eggs here without something terrible and very, very messy happening. Okay, Joe? So I am going to hold Jonas's hand so that he can balance okay. So I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that was pretty awesome. Not sure I want to eat those eggs now, but if you want to try that at home, please go ahead. In fact, if you go back to the website, there is a pack full of activities, including that one, and you can try them out. If you do any, especially the egg challenge, then make sure you film them or take pictures and post them on the Facebook group, and then we can check them out in the chat on Zoom later, and the link to that is also on the website. Now, we've got an extra little video for you coming up, so enjoy that, and then the answer to the challenges at the end. Have a fantastic week, and just remember, God keeps his promises. Bye!
Oh God, he always keeps his promises. He said the sons of Abraham would be more than the grains of sand, and so his family grew underneath the Pharaoh's rule.
feel like you should clap or something again now, Chrissy.
Crying on set.
Hand so that he can balance okay. And Joe, slowly put your weight on. And lift the other one.